These are the new metal releases for January 17th. This is my weekly series where I cover new albums by underground metal bands from all over the world. I have a nice mix of genres this time. I have 7 albums to talk about, so let me get into it. First band I have is called Hazzerd. They are a thrash band from Alberta, Canada. The album is called The Third Dimension. They formed in 2013. They are a newer thrash metal band, but they have an old school sound. The album has 10 tracks. It was 41 minutes long. This is their third full-length album. This is one of those bands that draws inspiration from the classic thrash metal bands of the 80s, but also has a sound similar to that new wave of thrash metal that came out in the 2000s. The songs have fast rhythms and chugging guitars. The vocals are very heavy and aggressive. Also lots of guitar solos. Some of the guitar riffs have more of a neoclassical sound. There are also times when they slow down with big power chords. Other times they can play some very melodic leads. Most of the album is just in-your-face thrash metal that will just knock you over. The songs have both catchy hooks and technical playing. There are varying song lengths. Some songs are 2 to 3 minutes. Others go from 6 to 9 minutes. That one song that was 9 minutes has some really cool instrumental sections with melodic leads and classical guitar playing. But this song is still a thrasher. Overall, not too bad. It's a nice mix of that modern thrash metal sound with some old school influences. The next band is called Necrodeath. This was a band I recently talked about in my Discovering Metal series when I was covering bands from Italy. They are one of the first extreme metal bands of that country, and they have a very long legacy. They're one of those bands that's a combination of death metal and thrash. I think a good point of reference would be early Slayer. The new album is called Arimortis. This is their 14th album. It has 9 tracks. It's 38 minutes long. It's basically fast and heavy extreme thrash. The vocals are very heavy, even bordering on black metal vocals. The songs have lots of powerful drum beats. There are also some songs with haunting atmospheric sections that give it more of a spooky quality. Other songs move at a mid-pace and have guitar riffs that are chunky and beefy, just like your grandmother's tomato sauce. But I like the fact that they can play guitar riffs that sound like the early thrash metal albums of the 80s. Other songs, they sound a lot more evil sounding. Some songs have a slower pace, but still very dark and heavy. Think of something along the lines of early Celtic Frost. It's a very good band. The first time I listened to them, I didn't really like them that much. But I listened to the album again. This one sounded a lot better than the first album, in my opinion, I guess. And I think it just has better production. I like everything, and I like the fact that there are a few songs that have these softer atmospheric sections. So it's not just all fast thrash all the time. There's different peaks and valleys. So this is definitely a band that you should check out. The next band is called Sarcator, and the album is called Swarming Angels and Flies. This is a Swedish blackened death metal band. The name Sarcator is a fusion of Sarcophago and Creator, which are 2 thrash metal bands. That kind of gives you an idea of what they sound like. The band is fairly new. They formed in 2018. This is their 3rd full-length album. The band plays blackened thrash, which is a pretty new subgenre that's been pretty popular these past few years. A good point of reference would be the band Hellripper. The songs have fast rhythms with black metal style vocals. There's a hardcore punk vibe with some of the songs. Other songs have heavy old school thrash guitar riffs. There are lots of blast beats. Most songs are very fast paced with tremolo pick guitar riffs. Songs have a dark and evil sound. They also use a lot of those black metal guitar riffs and harsh screams. Other songs sound like classic metal, maybe something like Motorhead. There was one song that had this southern rock acoustic intro, so they're not afraid to experiment a little. There are other songs that have dark and atmospheric instrumental sections, so it's not all fast and heavy all the time. It was pretty good. Sometimes these black and thrash metal bands just stick to the same formula, but this band was not afraid to go outside the box at times. So it was another album that I recommend. The next band I have is Thy Kingdom Will Burn with The Loss and Redemption. They are a melodic death metal band from Finland, and they formed in 2016. It's their 3rd album. The album has 10 tracks, it's 48 minutes long. It's a type of melodic death metal that's very dense and atmospheric. I would even say had some black metal vibes. There were guitar riffs as well as some keyboards to give the music some additional textures. The vocals reminded me of the band At the Gates. Some songs move at a slower pace and have a lot of emotion. Other songs have more melodic sounds. They reminded me of a band like Amon Amarth, and they had this folk metal quality as well. I think it's a type of band that relies more on creating these thick musical textures as opposed to making fast and heavy music. But don't get me wrong, they can pick up the pace when they need to. I'm just saying that a lot of the pacing on this is slower and helps bring out more of the darkness in the guitar riffs. They're also not afraid to include softer instrumental sections as well as some orchestral arrangements, but at the same time, they can play some thick and heavy guitar riffs. Other times they go into more of a power metal direction with some songs that have faster rhythms and brighter tones. But overall, it's some really good melodic death metal. I think the key here is the word melodic, because it doesn't matter how heavy they try to be, the band still has lots of melody, so I highly recommend this band. Next is another Finnish melodic death metal band called Pestilent Scars. The album is called Meadows of Misfortune, and this is their debut album. I guess if I had to compare them to the previous band, I would say this band has more of a death metal sound as opposed to being just melodic death metal. In other words, their music is more straightforward and centered on guitar riffs. The music is still heavy, the vocals are very harsh. The music also draws influence from classic heavy metal. I heard a few guitar riffs that were reminiscent of Iron Maiden, especially the first two albums with Paul Di'Anno. The music is filled with guitar riffs that can get very melodic at times, but they're also combined with some really heavy vocals. There are times when they slow down the pace and the songs can also sound like traditional melodic death metal. This is one of those bands that is more of an underground band. The music might sound a little more raw. I thought it was pretty cool. They have their own style, but they play classic melodeath. Some songs are melodic, others have lots of blast beats and tremolo picking. There was even one song towards the end of the album that was closer to doom metal. It had slower tempos. Overall, another band I think you should check out. Next is Infested Angel, a death metal band from the UK. Name of the album is Threnodies to Eternal Despair. It's their debut full-length album. Although they've released 2 EPs prior to this, I know they're listed as death metal, but I think they sound more like a black metal and death metal hybrid. You can hear elements of both subgenres. Type of band for those who like extreme forms of metal music. They use these deep Cannibal Corpse style guttural vocals. They have lots of blast beats and tremolo picking. It makes it sound like black metal. The album is also kind of long, as it's 1 hour long and there are 13 tracks. Pretty much everything here is fast and heavy, with a few exceptions of course. They have a few songs that have these softer instrumental sections, but those sections are mostly intro tracks and the songs usually take off and go full speed afterwards. There are 2 songs that have someone named Nathaniel Coxon. He's a piano player from the UK, and he's a classical piano player, but he has this website, and I went on the website and I saw that he says that he's willing to play in any genre for anyone who's willing to hire him. So I thought that was pretty cool because he plays these different piano sections on 2 of the songs, and that was really unique. But overall, this is a band for those who like extreme forms of heavy metal or extreme metal in general. I have one more band. They're called Tumenggung. The album is Back on the Streets. They are a heavy metal band from Indonesia. They've been active since 2007. This is their second full-length album. The album has 9 songs. It's 34 minutes long. The sound is traditional heavy metal with a lot of influences from bands from the 80s. Songs have fast rhythms and classic metal guitar riffs. The vocals are very big and powerful. The music is not breaking any new ground. They're giving you some heavy metal that we all love to listen to. I would say the sound is like traditional heavy metal, something like Judas Priest or Dio, but with a little more of that late 80s glam metal attitude and the melodies. Songs have big hooks and catchy choruses. There's a ballad that has some pretty cool lead guitar playing and emotional lyrics. Most of the songs sounded like the early 80s heavy metal with the big guitar riffs. There were a few moments that got pretty heavy. They played some music bordering on thrash metal. Overall, just a fun album to listen to. It has lots of retro vibes. That is all. Check out last week's episode of the new metal releases for January 10th. Thanks for watching. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you have not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.